Now that we have simplified our solution, let's go through the details of the code generated by the template. Now the sample code had generated my services class, which defines our web service, sample web service. My services name class is inherited from service base class, which is under service tag namespace. So if we go to the definition, we can see it again implements so many interfaces, and I recommend you to go through service tag website. It is at servicetag.net. It contains lots of information about service tag. I would highly recommend you to go through this website. There are lots of documentation which will and tutorials available, and that will explain you the features of service tag. So let's come back to our my service class. It has exposed only one method. It's like a typical Hello World project, but the general idea is we can expose our API for our web service using any of the HTTP verbs. In this case it is any, so we can use get or put, delete or post, any of these verbs based on our requirement. Now if you look at the parameter pass, it is our request DTO and it returns a response DTO. So what we are passing is a hello class, which is a request DTO, and if we see at the definition, all it contains is a public property name. Okay, and it is interesting to see this iWritten interface marker, so that tells what response we are going to get when we pass a request with the instance of this class. In this case it is hello response. It makes very easier for the clients, especially C# clients, if they know what kind of response they are going to get, so they can instantiate with that. Now here on the service tag website itself, they have given a good explanation about this. So you can see that when we add this interface marker, we can then call this service using strongly typed response class, and it is easy. Okay, so also you can see how it is decorated, so that this is the way it will be called when we call it from our client's browser. So it will follow the main URL of our website, then it has a API prefix before we pass any of these parameters, and that's what the way the default configuration is. So if we look at the web.config, and this is what location path is API, because this is what service tag understands. So whenever we send a request with this path, instead of intercepting by standard MVC framework or MVC runtime, this is the service tag HTTP handler which is going to take care of this request. Okay, so all this configuration is done for you. There is one more file which is the apphost.cs, and this again inherits from host base class, and this is where all the configuration code is there. Now it also uses a dependency injection, so it has its own IOC containers which takes care of resolving our service interfaces. So that's very good feature. Okay, now that we have seen the code, we can just run our service. Okay, so let's see. No errors. So as I said, this is the path. So if we specify, then we know that our service is working. Now it has only one operation called hello. Now what is interesting about is, because it can allow you to get the data in different formats like XML, JSON, CSV, SOAP1, SOAP2. So if we click on XML link, it tells you how you can call the request and what will be the result, so how we call it. Okay, and if you want to call it like a JSON, then we will test it later using, but we can simply test it by passing hello, and let's say George. My mistake. So it returns you with, if we say format equal to JSON, it should return in JSON, and if we say format is equal to XML, then it will give you the XML. So that's very cool, isn't it? So now I will cover when we test our main web service using REST clients such as Postman. That time I will show you all the different operations such as GET and POST. And also we'll cover unit testing using unit testing framework. Okay, so let's go into implementation of our restaurant main service.